Hello and welcome back to the Fundamentally Fit podcast with me, your host, Andy Strong, and a good morning, good afternoon, or a good evening to wherever it is that you are listening to this podcast. If you are watching over on YouTube, hello, I'm waving, but thank you for being here with us today on episode number 13. Unlucky for some, but I have actually chosen episode 13 to be the day where I actually tell you a little bit about what we do here at Fundamentally Fit behind the scenes in my actual business, and also to tell you a little bit about what I'm planning for the future and how, if it's something that might interest you, how you can come and get involved. Now, our regular podcast, our regular delve into the news, the weirdness, the strangeness, picking it apart, the normal health help and advice that we give here on the Fundamentally Fit podcast will be back next week in episode 14. In fact, we have a very good podcast, a very important podcast next week where we're talking about the importance of health checks. So do check that out. I'd love it if you stuck around today and listened to what we're up to here at Fundamentally Fit, but if it's not for you, then do go listen to one of our other podcasts or come back next week where our regular scheduled podcasting will will be back, basically. But for now, episode number 13. Oh, actually, no. Before we jump into that, how are your goals going? How is your September going? Have you managed to kind of get back into your work routine now? Used to this kids being back at school. Is everything going well? Have you set yourself some new goals since September, or since you got back to work in September, since your summer holidays? Now, a lot of my clients, me included, taking a holiday in September because as I don't have kids, I'm going away when it's a little bit quieter, a little bit cheaper. Sorry, everybody else. But it is important when you do get back and this September time that you set yourself some new goals, because if you don't, you're going to get to January and you're potentially going to put weight back on that you've lost through the summer. You may have lost a lot of fitness that you may have spent all year building up. Don't let that be the case. Try something new, set yourself some new goals, and as always, if you need some help with that, please feel free to get in touch and I will be more than happy to offer my advice. Today, Podcast 13. Let's kick off. We're going to tell you a little bit about the history of Fundamentally Fit, how it came to be, what we aim to do, what we're up to at the moment, and what we are hoping to do in the future. So Fundamentally Fit as a company will be 4 years old in March, so it's well established now, very strong client base. Originally I started working, and when I set the company up in Worthing, just down the road from my hometown of Littlehampton, and then a year after I set the company up, I moved to Walton-on-Thames, having where my partner had recently got a promotion, and we needed to relocate. So basically I set the company up, I had boot camp, I had circuits classes, a good roster of one-to-one private clients, and then had to start all over again, which was a challenge, but it was one that went really well, one that I relished, and actually now I'm fully established in Walton and in the Elmbridge and Surrey area, and doing really well, and some very successful and very fun clients here as well. When I was working back in Worthing, I was also coaching at the Tough Fitty Triathlon Club. So hello to anyone from Tough Fitty who's listening. And I used to coach their Thursday night swim sessions, and I used to love doing that. Although I could never ever sleep when I got back on a Thursday night, because you'd just be totally wired from getting all the swimmers going and making sure everyone was doing what they needed to be doing. And I was absolutely loved the buzz of the session. And since I've been in Walton, I now actually only work with my clients one-to-one. There's a few reasons for that. I do miss teaching the group sessions because you get a real buzz as a trainer from taking them, but I now focus one-to-one because actually the quality of the relationship that you build and the quality of the results that a client gets are actually a lot better, and therefore I chose to focus on what delivered the best results for my clients, and in my opinion that was the one-to-one based training. Now, my route into the industry to actually, nearly 4 years in business, worked with lots and lots of clients over that time, lots of really successful outcomes, really some of them really genuinely life-changing outcomes in that time. But how did I get there? Why did I go into the industry? And that really goes back to when I was a teenager and a little bit younger, to be fair. I was heavily overweight, and I've had weight struggles pretty much all my life. I've been a healthy weight since my mid-20s, but I'll be honest, setting up a business it's been a challenge with that. It's been a new challenge. I've kind of gone from that early part of my life where you have more time, you have maybe more disposable income, and it's a little bit easier to be exercising more often, less commitments of less responsibility of life. And as I've got a little bit older, that's become a new challenge that I've had to take on, much in the same way as I offer my advice to my clients. I now have to plan a lot more. I have to knuckle down a lot more, and I have to work hard to maintain my weight and remain happy and healthy. But that's no different to anybody else. But my route into the industry was through being heavily overweight when I was younger. I understand and appreciate why my clients struggle, because I've been there and I still have those issues now. But I don't do it from a position of having always been super fit and healthy. I was the last person at school that would ever have ended up in this industry. So my approach is a very practical one. It's a very realistic one. You won't see me recommending fatty exercise regimes. You won't see me recommending, bright green smoothies. It's about what's realistic for the individual's lifestyle. If I work with a client, I will sit down with them and I will do a food diary and I will have a consultation process and we'll discuss, where their struggles are. I will pick out 2 or 3 things that individual needs to work on, and then I will give them some ways that they can go and do that. And that is a really realistic way of approaching lifestyle change, much, much more realistic than a complete overhaul, a complete 30-day meal plan. And it kind of removes that requirement to feel like you're on a diet or off a diet, and it's a much more realistic approach. And the reason I do this is because I know from myself I couldn't manage changing my diet overnight when I was losing weight. Even now when I make changes, I'm still a creature of habit, as we all are. I like to have certain food through the week, certain days of the week I like to eat certain foods. If it's a Saturday night, I love to have fajitas. That's just me. But I've found ways now that kind of make that more manageable. And this is how I approach it with my clients. Every day of the week, small bite-sized chunks that you can kind of put into action. And once you've got that into your routine, we'll change it and we'll mix it up. And that's the approach I've been using, and it works really, really well, both for myself and for my clients. Now, when I decided that it was time to go to set Fundamentally Fit up, I really had a desire to remove the confusion that was in the industry, and that's really what this podcast is usually about. It's a desire to remove the confusion because we have a situation where we're flooded with information, whether that's from the internet, magazines, the papers, whatever it is, our friends, somebody else is trying a diet and they're telling you it's the best thing since sliced bread, except you can't eat sliced bread anymore because that's bad, apparently. And so I had a real desire to kind of just strip it all back, make it really, really simple and easy to understand, and just help people remove that confusion and help them be the best version of themselves possible. And so I'm going to read this actually now. I wrote this mission statement when I set my company up, and this is really what I'm all about. So, Fundamentally Fit aims to deliver a health-first approach that's designed to remove the confusion surrounding health, nutrition and fitness, helping people become the best version of themselves possible, whatever that looks like. And that last section, whatever that looks like, is really important and personal to me. Having been on my own weight loss journey, I understand that everybody's struggles are different and everybody's aspirations of where they want to get to is also completely different. So while yes, I would love to get every single client that came to me to an ideal BMI, reduce their risk of all major causes of premature death, I would love to get them all to a place where they're all super confident, they're all able to exercise and do all of the things they will want to do. Realistically, that's not going to be the case for everybody that comes to see me, and it's not going to be the case for everybody that, tries to go on a body transformation, go on a weight loss program, try to train for a marathon, whatever it is. It is much more about finding what is realistic for that individual, what makes them feel good, and what is realistic given their lifestyle. So, for example, we might have one client who is commuting on the train, maybe into the city, and every day they are having a coffee at the railway station. Maybe it's 200-300 calories. Now, if they're doing that twice a day, on the way to work, on the way home, and they're doing that 5 or 6 days a week, then over a week, a month, and a year, we can see that they're putting away a lot of extra calories that they could be saving. So we might look to amend this and make a small adjustment, maybe on what they're drinking, or maybe taking it out altogether, giving them some other things they could have instead. And that small, tiny change will have a big lasting impact on their lifestyle, a big lasting impact on the foods and drink they might have after they would have had that particular beverage. And so we're having a big impact on their overall lifestyle. Now, that might be a very realistic thing for them to do. However, if this individual is commuting into the city 5, 6, 7 days a week and they only have minimal time left to exercise, there could well be a threshold for what we can realistically help them do, because there's only going to be so many coffees and so many sweets and treats that we can change in their diet. And then there comes a point where you might hit a ceiling based on an individual's lifestyle. So for example, our individual who's commuting into the city, maybe they've got 2 hours spare that they can exercise a week. Perfect. They book an appointment with somebody like me, they come and do their training, they get a focused hour or 2 hours per week where they know they're working exactly on their goals, exactly on where they need to be, and they're adjusting the other areas of the diet. Now, they may lose, let's say for example, 50% of the weight that they need to lose to be an ideal BMI and a healthy BMI. However, unless something else changes in their lifestyle, in their routine, with their work, maybe with how their families run, and how they share the jobs that go on in the rest of their life, they could well hit a ceiling whereby they can't lose any more weight because there is nothing else to change. Because, we can't always just cut, 1,000 calories out of a diet, because it just isn't healthy long term, because you're not getting the nutrients you need. So once you've adjusted somebody's diet, you've got them to the best place they can be, and you're helping them with their exercise in the best way possible. Sometimes you have to step back and say, do you know what? Given this individual's circumstances, given where they are in their life right now and the changes that they can realistically put into place, they are the best version of themselves possible right now. And beyond that, it then comes down to the client and the individual to choose or to make a big decision on how they might change those extra things. I'll obviously always offer that advice on where I think they need to make those changes, what they realistically would need to do to get the next stage or the next step down the path to being a healthy BMI. But really, it's about reflecting how you as an individual and how I as an individual want to be. How, what do you want to do with your health? What do you want to do with your fitness? What do you want from having a healthy, balanced lifestyle? If it's to reduce medication and you manage to do that, and you can manage to change your lifestyle to keep the medication low, or to come off of your medication for whatever that may be, then that might be the best version of you possible. You might never train to the level that means you're going to run a 10K, or you might never win your age group in a triathlon, or you might never get picked to go to the Olympics. I know I'm not going to be, but what's the best version of you possible? And think about this now. Think about this question right now. In your lifestyle right now, what would the best version of you that is realistic and achievable look like? What would the best version of you possible be? How would you feel? What would you do? What changes would you need to make that a reality? That really is the fundamental process that I go through with my clients. Now, there are obviously people that come to me and they go through the whole process. They're able to commit that little bit more. Their lifestyle, their situation might mean that they're able to do that. And sometimes it's a case of taking a client and saying, right, where can we take this client that is better than where they are now? What is realistic? Let's get them there first, and then let's review and see what is realistic. Because, for example, you might take a client 50% down the road to where they need to be in an ideal situation. Now, to get that person to move from point A to point B might require some pretty big changes that are realistic but still pretty big, and they might feel insurmountable to the client at the time. But once you get them from point A to point B, all of a sudden, point B to point C suddenly doesn't seem as difficult anymore. And while when you're standing at point A, point C requires so many changes that could never happen, and that quite often is what stops people trying, because they just feel it's insurmountable. But actually the process of taking a small step, a little bit at a time, get from point A to point B, and then all of a sudden point B to point C, not so difficult anymore. So Fundamentally Fit really is about helping people remove the confusion, making themselves the best version of themselves possible. We use a health first approach, which means if you come to me and you want weight loss, that is absolutely fine. fine. That is a legitimate goal to have. You shouldn't feel bad about that. But I am going to prioritize all the things that will improve your health across the board first. Weight loss, as a rule, will come when you take care of the health first areas. So quite often, if you're stressed, if you're not sleeping properly, if you take care of those things, you will lose weight. Rather than just slashing calories and cutting nutrients out of your diet, we use a health first approach, and that means we use something that is realistic for your lifestyle, realistic for where you want to be, and it means that we don't compromise your health just in the name of losing a few pounds, because if you do it the other way around, if you take care of your health, your weight will come down, you will be better for the long term, not just for the next 6 weeks while you're on a crash diet. So I'm in danger of going into a massive waffle there, but that's a little bit of the history about Fundamentally Fit. It's what we stand for. The name Fundamentally Fit actually came out of the fact that I wanted a company that was about the fundamentals, back to basics. That is really what we stand for. In terms of qualifications and things, obviously I'm a level 3 personal trainer. My diploma is in exercise referral, so I can take clients from the GP as well. And moving forward, I also I'm working on my level 4, which is going to be my specialist area, which I'm working on at the moment, hoping to get that finished before Christmas. And I will be a specialist in obesity and diabetes, as that is an area that has the most relevance in terms of clients that I work with. But also it's something that's very relevant to me. It's areas that I've struggled, and diabetes plays a role in my family as well. So that is something, and it's a growing problem in the UK. So I want to be well positioned to help more people as the condition obviously develops. And I think it will be one that many people will get a lot of benefit from. I also, in terms of when I'm working one-to-one with clients, we do all the usual things. We do a lot of posture assessment. We do a lot of corrective exercises for people that have got injuries. We do a lot of classic suspension training and functional training. We look at biomechanics as well, and then we look at your classic, maybe your HIIT training, boxing, TRX, all of those types of things that you'd expect from any kind of PT session. And I'm also just completing a Olympic lifting qualification as well. I'm also a BTF level 2 triathlon coach. So quite often you'll hear me talking about triathlon and clients that I'm working with, or you'll hear me talking about races and things. And that's kind of where it feeds in, because when I had lost the weight and I was kind of fed up of being at the gym, just going to the gym for the sake of it, I ended up getting sucked into the world of triathlon. A friend of mine at the gym had done London Triathlon, and it just kind of encouraged me quite heavily to do it. I kind of had looked up the website, thought, well, I could probably do this. And then I realised I needed to, get some help, because, before I was a coach, and even coaches need help, even coaches need coaching. And so I went along to my local club, which happened to be at the end of my road. And about 6 weeks after I'd gone along, my club chairman, Clive, had managed to talk me into doing my first race, and the rest was history. So I do a lot of triathlon as well. So don't be surprised if you hear me talking about that. But that is kind of where I am in terms of qualifications, and where I am in terms of right now and how I'm working with my clients. And that's all really good. I predominantly, as I say, work one-to-one with clients. They come to me, work with me in Walton, or I'll travel out to see them as well. But the big drawback of this, and this kind of gets to the important part of this podcast, the big drawback is that means I am very restricted with who I can help, because geographically I have to be quite close vicinity to my clients because of the amount of equipment and everything that goes with that. However, I have been working on my third nutrition qualification, fourth nutrition qualification over the last year, and you may have heard me mention this before in the podcast or over on my social media channels, and it's been with Ben Coomber over at Body Type Nutrition. I've been doing the Practical Academy. The course was fantastic. I'm just waiting now to basically put a lot of that into action, which is actually what I'm here to talk to you about today. So this nutrition qualification layered on top of many of the things that I'd done before, but it gave me a much deeper understanding, and it now means I'm in the position where I can work with clients specifically on their nutrition and help them with their diets. So before, this would form part of what I did, but now I have a much broader qualification, a much broader understanding of how to take that to the next level. And what I have been doing over the last year is I have been writing and preparing a course which basically is going to help me reach more of you people who need my help but maybe can't get to me directly. So I'm going to be launching, it's still under the name of Blueprint because the final launch is not quite ready, probably not until January. But I'm going to start working with my clients online. I'm going to start working with them. The coaching itself will be delivered either face-to-face if you happen to be local, because that's really cool. I'm happy to meet up. But predominantly it's going to be delivered online. It's going to be done via Skype or conference calling. There's going to be webinars that go with this service. So basically each client that comes on board will do comprehensive food diary analysis with myself. We'll look at the foods you're eating. We'll make some recommendations, and then basically each week you will receive a detailed handout, study notes based on what the topic is of the week. We might be looking at your hydration. We might be looking at helping you setting your home up for basically for weight loss. So how do you pack your fridge? How do you set your kitchen up so there's not treats out? We'll be looking at some of the psychology in terms of food plate sizes. Then we'll also be looking at things like hydration. We'll be looking at understanding what macronutrients are, understanding how digestion rates affect your energy levels. It's a very comprehensive course, and each week you'll receive study notes, and you'll also receive 1 or 2 videos that will go along with the study notes as well. And then depending on which level of coaching you've chosen, you'll be then having Skype coaching with me, where we'll be talking about the course topic of the week, plus we'll be doing some personal one-to-one coaching based on your individual struggles and individual areas that you might need some support. Initially, this is going to be a 12-week course. Everything will be delivered via email directly into your inbox, and the videos will only be available to people that are on the Fundamentally Fit course. But in time, I'm hopefully by January, but certainly by the middle of next year, this is going to be moved onto a platform where we'll actually be set up so you will log in through the Fundamentally Fit website. I'm looking at having redesigns done for the website as well, and you'll be able to go and log in, access all the content online on your own private members study area, and then you will have all of that information available to download. All of the videos will all be there as well, and it will be a fantastic resource to help more people, and that's the thing I'm most excited about, is I'm going to be able to help more people like you listening to this podcast, who maybe have listened to this for a few weeks, maybe don't live anywhere near where I am, but you could still benefit from working with me, and this is going to be a fantastic way of doing that. Now, this course has been set up not as a weight loss course. That's not what this is. It will definitely help you lose weight, but that's not primarily what it's for. It is based on those fundamentally fit principles of helping you be the best version of yourself possible, and it's using a health first approach. This is an educational course. It's based on giving you the understanding of what goes behind a good balanced diet and a good sensible lifestyle change. It is not about cutting this many calories. It's not about cutting out these certain types of food. It is about laying out the fundamentals, the principles, the basics, and giving you the confidence to actually build on them week by week. So by the end of the 12 weeks, you'll have a good grounding, a good understanding, and then as the course develops over time, we'll be expanding that out, and you'll be able to come on board for a longer period of time. What also will go with this course when it is launched will be a closed Facebook group where we'll have lots of additional information, support. You'll be able to talk to other members who are on the course as well. You'll be able to share recipe ideas, ask questions, get feedback from me. And it basically just provides that nice private environment where, if you go onto the Fundamentally Fit page at the moment, I know a lot of my clients that I talk to, they see what goes on there, but they don't like to start conversations, because a lot of the conversations and questions they want to ask, they're also aware that I have other people that aren't directly clients of mine using my Facebook page to comment and share information, and that's not always the nicest place to ask a question, especially if you're a little bit nervous about asking, saying, have you got any recipe ideas for this? I really struggle with my snacks for this. I don't really understand how macronutrients work. I think I'm eating too much fat. What's the difference between good and bad fats? And all of these things, or someone saying, how do I read my my food labels properly. All of these things obviously will be covered on the course, but the private Facebook group gives a nice place where you can go and ask these questions as you go along. You might do a lesson on the course, and then you might not have a coaching call for another week, maybe 10 days, and you want to get some feedback. Obviously, you can email me, but it's great to have a community of people to be able to ask questions from as well. And that really is where the company is moving. That is really where Fundamentally Fit is moving. It's also the reason that this podcast was launched 13 weeks ago, because I'm now starting to be able to reach more people. Now, the podcast is great because it helps my existing clients. I get lots of questions from the topics that I cover in the podcast. It usually generates really good conversations, really good educational pieces that I do with them in their sessions, which is cool. It's great to be able to support them more, but also it is an opportunity for me to now start reaching more people. So if you have enjoyed the podcast, please go back, leave us a review. Genuinely, it's a big help to get more exposure. Go and share it with your friends. That would be a really fantastic thing to do. And also, of course, if you want any help, if I'm going to be very close. I'm off on holiday, but when I get back October time, I am going to be starting to take on 2 or 3 clients for the early stages of testing this before it goes to full launch. So if you are interested in potentially being one of those test clients, it will be at a discounted rate. Pop me an email, andy@fundamentallyfit.co.uk. I can let you have some details, and if you're interested, then we can potentially get you on board. You can trial the service, and you can potentially save yourself some money and learn an awful lot at the same time. So that is pretty much everything I wanted to talk to you today. It's been a relatively long podcast. I knew that would end up happening because I'm just waffling and talking about me. But the ultimate drive of Fundamentally Fit is to help more people become the best version of themselves possible. I want to help remove the confusion, but I want you to be happier and healthier at the same time. That is more important than cutting calories for the sake of cutting calories. And I'm really excited that Blueprint is going to be a fantastic way of helping you all do that. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments over on either on Facebook or on YouTube. Leave us a review if you've enjoyed this. Click subscribe if you want to hear more, see how this product develops. And again, if you're interested or if you've got any questions, pop them over to andy@fundamentallyfit.co.uk. Until next time, I'm Andy Strong, helping you to eat smart, train smart, stay fundamentally fit. I look forward to seeing your podcast very soon, and hopefully, for those that are interested, I look forward to helping you become happier, healthier individuals in the future. So please do get in touch if you would like any help. I will see you in podcast